Let's talk about the 8 books I read in December. December was a slower reading month for me, just with the holidays and all the family stuff I had. I just didn't have time to prioritize reading as much. However, I had some really big wins still, and I'm very excited to talk to you about those wins. I'm proud of what I still read this month and accomplished this month. Just like always, we will go over my monthly stats and then we will get into each book review as well. But as a stats girly, I will be tracking my reads this year on Fable, and thank you to Fable for sponsoring today's video. Fable is a reading tracker app, but it's more than a reading tracker app because there's also community aspects to it and book clubs on there. But I love setting a reading goal and trying to achieve that reading goal, and I will be setting mine to 120 this year, which I do think is achievable, especially with some of the other features Fable has. The reading streak is one of my favorites because I'm really bad at reading every single day, and I think that I could read more if I did read every single day. I think that this will keep me very much accountable, as well as all the other features Fable has: your most read genre, your most read author, and your average star rating. I love that you can see all of these with a cute, aesthetically pleasing graphic, because other reading apps are definitely missing the aesthetically pleasing, and I can't resist a cute graphic to share everywhere. And don't worry, if you've never used Fable before, you can import your Goodreads library really easily so that you don't lose any of your previous tracking when you make the switch to Fable. So go right now and download the Fable app so we can all be aesthetically pleasing stat lovers this year. And in December, I read 8 books. I had a total pages read of 3,859, which averages per day to be 124 pages per day. My average page count per book was 482 pages, and my most read genre was indie fantasy. I gave out 0 5 stars, 3 4 stars, 5 3 stars, 0 2 stars, and 0 1 stars, which is an average rating of 3.38. I read 3 new releases and 5 backlist books. My genre breakdown was 2 fantasy romance and 6 indie fantasies. The first book I read this month was Servant of Earth by Sarah Colley. This is a fantasy romance with trials. We're following our main character, who is sent to the underground fae realm, where humans aren't treated that well and they are kind of looked down upon. She is sent to be a servant to one of the fairies in the earth realm as kind of like a punishment to the earth realm. The king's like, oh, I look down upon the earth realm, so I'm sending you a dirty human as a servant. But the earth realm makes the most of it and says, you're smart. We need you as a human who is immune to a lot of the magic here to find us secrets about the trials that our daughter has to go through and help her accomplish them. And if she doesn't accomplish them, you don't accomplish them, which means you die. And so I watch our main character as she learns about the fae. She learns about the politics and the connivingness in there. She learns about rebellions and what happened to one of the fae races, because they're all like elemental faes. I really liked the magic system in here. I thought that was really cool. I loved the world building. Like, I loved constantly learning about the new fae worlds. There were 6 types of fae within this story, and I enjoyed learning about all of them. We kind of have a bit of a love-ish triangle. We have 2 different men that could be the love interest in this, and I love to hate one and I love to love another, and I thought it was really fun to like really root for one and to really root against one. I really did enjoy this. I think the plot and the world building is really what like made this a 4-star book for me. I forgot to say that I gave it 4-star. The romance, not my favorite, but definitely has potential, I think, in later books. But I just truly loved the trials in this. I thought they were unique, and I feel like since trials is such an overdone thing right now, that when I can say that trials feel very unique to me, that's a very big plus. I love trials regardless, but like unique trials are like even better. And this one had some really cool ones. The illusion trial will stick in my head for a very long time. And I can't wait to read the second book, which I think is just such a wonderful thing to say about a book. So this was an overall win for me, and I can't wait for the sequel. After that, I read The Wolf of Withervale, which I gave 3 stars. This was an SPFBO book. I liked this one, didn't love it. I felt like it was too long, and I didn't really enjoy the romance in this. This is a queer story, and I thought that the queer story was done really well. This like young boy exploring his sexuality. However, I have learned that I don't like age gap that is a little bit more fatherly or parental. In this, we had a pretty large age gap for the romance. Like, the romance is like a god, and the guy calls the other one Cub a lot, which like Cub to me is just very parental in nature. And so I just couldn't get past the fact that this person was kind of acting like a parental figure to this kid, and it just didn't work for me. This was very much a journey story and was a little bit far too long. We're following our main character who finds a mask and then people are after him, and he has to run away essentially and learn what this mask is, and learns about these gods and this war that's happening, and he becomes a bit of a chosen one within it. I don't have much to say about this one. It was just a read I had to read for SBFBO as a judge, and I didn't love it. Next up, I read By a Silver Thread by Rachel Aaron, and I did like this one as well. I gave it 3 stars. I liked this one better than Wolf of Withervale. This one had a mystery in it. Essentially, we're following our main character, who is a monster, and a guy comes to her when she's younger and says, I can help you, but you have to work for me. And he essentially feeds her blood to help the monster stay in check. And our main character also has a silver thread attaching her to her sister, and that's kind of like a lifeline for her and her morality. And we watch as the person that's keeping the monster in check goes missing, and our main character has to not only keep the monster at bay, but also find what is happening to the person that went missing. I really liked the mystery part of this, but around 50% the mystery was definitely uncovered, and I kind of lost a little bit of my enjoyment there. I liked the writing style, but I kind of wish more was developed in the story and the world building and the characters. I think specifically the characters really lacked in this one for me. I wanted to root for them a lot more. Like, for example, we have this thread to the sister, but we had never met the sister. Our main character had never met the sister, and so I was very confused about motivations to keep the sister alive and to find the sister and things like that. I think that I needed a little bit more scenes with characters that gave them like feelings in life, and maybe following a different character would have helped me a lot, because I didn't love the main character. I felt like things happened around her, not because of her. Like, she was just like not an active participant in the story necessarily. But I would try From Rachel Aaron again. Also, this is technically a series within a world that has different series, so maybe I would try one of the other series and see if I liked that, because I did like the concept and the idea in this one. Just some of the execution didn't 100% work for me, but I still enjoyed it, and I'm glad I read it. Another one that I read for SBFBO. Then I read Mushroom Blues, which I also technically gave a 3-star because I was judging it for SBFBO and I judged things a little bit differently. However, I didn't really enjoy this one. I think that there was a lot of things well done in it. Like, the writing is very, very polished. I can say nothing against the writing and the setting. The setting is so well developed and rich. However, I hated our main character so much, and I just like could not get past this. Essentially, we're following a police procedural where there is the mushroom people and then there are the like regular humans, and the mushroom people are essentially looked down upon. They're said to be gross and evil. This story, there is a lot of racism and prejudice against the mushroom people, and our main character is a human who sees that a bunch of mushroom kids are dying, and she has to figure out what exactly is going on. However, she has so much innate racism within her for the mushroom people, and she does learn and grow past it, but by the time she learns and grew past it, I couldn't. I just wanted her to die. I hated her. I really have problems reading from a main character who has to learn and grow past her prejudice. I prefer characters who are helping other characters do this, but being in the main head solely of someone like this just like did not work for me. It really ruined my enjoyment of the story. I think it's a well-written story, but I just could not get past wanting this main character to die, and that did not work for me. But it will work for other people if it doesn't bother you to be in someone's head like that. I think having a secondary POV would have worked really well for me to like switch between, because I just got so exhausted being in this head that I just like couldn't enjoy my time. But this was really, really, really well written, so if you think it sounds interesting, I definitely would pick it up. It has one of the coolest worlds I've read in a really long time. The way that the fungi people were discussed, their cultures, all of that were really, really rich and well done in my opinion. Then I read another romantasy, which was a really big one for me, Empire, Flame, and Thorns. This is a dragon shifter romance and also has trials. This was so fun. The writing, not the strongest, but it really grows on you, and I loved the characters, I loved the plot, and again, I loved the trials. I thought they were fun. They're not as unique as the Servant of Earth ones, but they were fun. In this, we're following our main character who is part of the rebellion, but because of her magic, people don't really trust her, so she's kind of at the bottom of the rebellion. In order to prove her worth, she enters these trials that happen every, like, I want to say it was 500 years. I don't remember the exact number, maybe 100 years. I don't remember the number, but after so long, these trials happen, and she brings herself into it, and there are going to be 3 people left standing to win the trials, and they're said to let go to get out of the city when they're done, because essentially the city is controlled by the dragon shifters, because once upon a time the Fae used magic to enslave the dragon shifters and become dragon riders, and so there was rebellion. The dragon shifters won, and they're now in control of the Fae, and they kind of abuse the Fae. And I love a story discussing things like this and how history repeats and like way we forget things and all of that. I just like think it's such a well-rounded story when we discuss these things, because it's so true how like revenge is a thing and it doesn't make our world progress into a better place if all we're doing is taking revenge on people. But we watch our main character as she wants to leave the city to go find new Fae to help enter the rebellion, so she has to win. There is a dragon shifter commander who takes interest in her and is trying to force her to lose at every step, and he was fun. I loved him. There's some scenes in this I'll think about forever. I think I made a TikTok about like a light choking scene in a hallway that is better than any knife to the throat scene I've ever read. I loved this. I thought this was so fun. I loved their relationship together, their banter, so I definitely can't wait for the second book. I think it drops in February too, so it's not too far away, and I think it's only a duology if I'm correct. Next up, another 4-star for me was the Humane Society for Creatures and Cryptids. I actually didn't expect to love this one as much as I did. I thought it was just going to be super cozy. I think it was a little bit too long. The pacing definitely took a hit for me. However, I just really enjoyed the characters in this. We follow 3 siblings who run a humane society for creatures and cryptids. They have a family land that has like Bigfoot on it, all these magical creatures, and they're hiding these creatures from the outside world, which means that no one is allowed to step onto their land. They kind of have like a grant that's like historical, but the town themselves thinks they're witches. They think something's weird about them, so they get a lot of hate within the town, and we watch how each of the sisters deals with that differently. I really liked the family connections within this. I liked seeing how the sisters reacted to each other, but also where they are in the sister, like younger, middle, or older, made them react differently to outside things. I thought each of the sisters had good personality, and I really enjoyed the story we went on, and the little bit of a thriller it became at the 50% mark. I do think the pacing was off and it was far too long, but I really just enjoyed this. I enjoyed the world building, learning about all the creatures. I've always said, as I was a Fablehaven lover as a kid, I love stories with like this like magical land within our land where like I could just drink the fairy water and then see all the fairies. So if you also liked Fablehaven, I would give this a go. It was so enjoyable for me. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was going to be cozy, and like yes it is, but it also gets darker and deeper than I thought it was going to be, and I really enjoyed this one and definitely would recommend it to people. And after that I read Runelight, and I really liked the writing style in this one. This is a long boy, and I think that that was a little bit of its downfall, but I really liked J.A. Andrews' writing style. I liked the way traveling was done in this, essentially following our main character who, as a child, she saw her brother vanish into thin air in front of her because of a box and some strangers. Her and her other brother spent their entire adult life trying to find that box and finding their brother. When the other brother goes missing and the box shows up by an elf at our main character's door, they go on a journey to find both brothers. I loved the banter between the elf and our main character. I thought they were fun. It's no romance, but I could have seen a romance and rooted for a romance for them so well. Like I really did enjoy that aspect. I loved how the traveling was done. I'm typically an anti-traveling girl. Like I don't like traveling. A lot of my stories I find it boring and repetitive, but the way this was done is that they could share memories within the magic system in this, and so as they were traveling they were sharing memories, and so the traveling felt like it was broken up by these memories of important plot parts. They were showing us things in the past that really did affect where the story went, and I really enjoyed that style of traveling. I enjoyed the characters in this. I feel like the story took familiar tropes like elves and dwarves and put a unique spin on them. I really liked how the magic system worked, how the elves like connected to the land. I thought overall this was a really well done story. I will be trying more from J.A. Andrews. I really liked the writing style. I just think it was a little bit too long with not a lot happening. I wish the plot happened a little bit more. Epic fantasies are epic in scope for a reason, and sometimes I find that that can hurt them a little bit, especially in first books, because it's more of a setup book than anything, and this was a true setup book. But I am excited to continue either in this world or just in J.A. Andrews' writing in general, because I thought it was really well polished. And lastly, I read Gates of Hope, which I gave 3 stars as well. I liked this one and again didn't love it. The characters in this were a little bit murky for me. I honestly don't really know how to tell you what this book was about, which is kind of a bad thing about it. I thought this was enjoyable. I liked the writing style and I was intrigued by the magic, but I don't really know what the overall plot was of this story. Like, I'm not sure what the objective was of the story, but we follow 3 characters as they learn that they actually have magic and have to use this magic, and there is like an overall threat in the world that they have to protect their world from, but we don't see much of it in my opinion. I really thought that this story was missing that in particular. Like, I needed some kind of conflict that had to happen. I feel like it was very much just with the characters as they learned things, but I did think the world building was kind of interesting. The one character has a hound that gives him some magic, and he can speak to the hound, and he's part of a select group of people that have been like forgotten from history, but they still exist. They just exist in the shadows, and he is being trained and will eventually also just like fall back into the shadows, and people won't remember him or who he is or anything, but he'll still be around to protect the people. Like, there was some intriguing things in this story. I liked how the magic worked through runes and things like that, but I don't really know what the conflict of it was, which was a downfall for me, but I still liked it. Like, I liked the overall vibe. Again, I read this for SPFBO. I read everything but the 2 fantasy romances for SPFBO this month, and that really dictated my reads. I don't think it'll be out by the time this video comes out, but there will be an official SPFBO vlog happening with my official scores broken down and better reviews of each of the books that you can keep an eye out for. I'm hoping that I read more in January than I did in December. December was definitely a slow month for me. I would love to know what your favorite book of December was, and if you made it all the way to the end of this video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me a dog emoji for Gates of Hope, and have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.